Om Sadashivasamadrambhaam
Shankaracharya Madhyama
Asmadacharya Pariyuntam Vande Guru
Vande
Paramparam
Guru Paramparam.
Om Sahana Bhavatu
Om Sahana
Sahano
Bhavatu
Bhunaktu
Sahanam
Sahaviryam
Bhunaktu
Karvavahem
Sahaviryam Karvavahem
Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om
Vishwavahai.
Shanti Shanti
Om
Shanti
Shanti
Shanti.
So we are continuing with the next verse, which is verse number 23 of chapter 5. Those who are talking, please keep your mics off. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Chaknoti Haivaya Sodam Aksharira Vimokshanat Kama Krododbhavam Vegam Sayuktasya Sukhi Naraha. Okay. So, Shaknoti Iha Eva. So that is the first word breakup. Shaknoti Iha Eva Yaha Sodum Prak Sharira Vimokshanat Kama Krodha Udbhavam Vegam Saha Yuktaha Saha Sukhinaraha. That is the breaking of the words, sandhis. And Anvaya will be Yaha Prak Sharira Vimokshanat Kama Krodha Udbhavam Vegam Iha Eva Sodum Shaknoti Kama Saha Yuktaha full stop Saha Sukhi Naraha full stop. So Yaha, that person who Prak Sharira Vimokshanat. Prak is before, Vimokshanam is releasing. So Prak Sharira Vimokshanat, who before being released from this body, which means before the body dies, what happens? Iha eva sodum shaknoti. Here itself, Iha eva, here itself, sodhum shaknoti, is able to withstand Vegam, the force, Kama Krodha Udbhavam, which is born from Kamaha and Krodhaha. So the full meaning so far is that person who before the body dies, in this world itself is able to withstand. So in this world itself means as while living is able to withstand the forces of Kama and Krodha, the forces born from Kama and Krodha. Saha Yuktaha, that person is a Karma Yogi. Saha Sukhi Naraha, that person is a happy person. That's the full meaning of that particular verse. Very nice verse. So in the last verse, we saw what? That toughening the mind, increasing my mental strength was recommended by Lord Krishna. That was a sadhana given. And these verses, remember, are all discussing Vairagyam, dispassion, as supporting sadhana for what? For Nididhyasanam. Now the second sadhana is given. What is Vairagyam? Vairagyam is nothing but the handling of Ragaha and Dveshaha. Raga and Dveshaha, the other names can be given as Kamaha and Krodaha. Why? Because both are born from Ajnanam, from misconception. So Ragaha, attachment, is born out of what? Is born out of the mistaken idea that the world, which means the objects of the world, the people in the world, they will give me permanent happiness and security. That itself is a mistaken idea. It's a misconception. Because no object in the creation is permanent. No person in the creation is permanent. And therefore, how can an impermanent object or person give permanent security? So we saw that earlier. Adhyantavantaha he kaunteya. Everything which got a beginning and an end. And therefore, if I think that somebody in this world, maybe it's my girlfriend or my boyfriend, is going to give me happiness and security which is permanent, that is a misconception, and that is called attachment. It is born out of what? I need to be happy, and this person or this object will give me that happiness. We don't stop to think that the object itself or the person itself is not permanent. Where is the question of permanent happiness being given? That is ragaha. And similarly for dveshaha, you have to extend that. Dveshaha is the misunderstanding that the world is capable of giving me sorrow, that some object is capable of giving me sorrow, that some person is capable of giving me sorrow. Right? So there are 4 points over here. Dharmic ragadvesha which is sanctioned by Shastram, is okay. Adharmic ragadvesha, one should avoid. The third point is never allow ragadvesha to dictate your decisions. Never allow them to influence your free will. And the last point is never allow them to disturb your FIR. So if you look at the jnanis in this world, you will find that they have one common feature. They are free from sorrow. That itself is enough proof of the fact that the world is not a source of sorrow. Because had the world been a source of sorrow, even the jnani would have been unhappy. So therefore sorrow does not lie in the world. It's your reaction to the world. It lies in your mind. And we all know that when you look at any object or any person, that same object is capable of causing sorrow to some persons and happiness to other persons. And sometimes even to the same person, it can cause sorrow and it can cause happiness, maybe at a different time and a different place. And therefore, the cause for the sorrow, it does not lie in the object or the other person. It clearly lies elsewhere. And therefore, the world can never be said to be either a source of joy or a source of sorrow. And Vedanta tells you, it is you who make the world a source of joy. And it is you alone who makes the world a source of sorrow also. And the fact is that as long as I do not understand this fact, I do not discover this fact, what am I going to do? I am going to blame the world. I am going to blame my wife. I am going to blame my husband. I am going to blame my mother-in-law. If I am blaming the world, what is my natural reaction? I will try to change the world. I will be never satisfied with the world as it is. And therefore, the correct understanding is that the world is not the problem. The problem is myself. And that is why they say that when you point one finger at somebody, look at your other 4 fingers. They are pointing at yourself. And the moment I recognize that, I have gone beyond raga and dvesha. When I look at the world through my spectacles of Raga Dvesha, I am seeing every object in that world tainted by my Raga and tainted by my Dosha. My mind has emotions based on my Raga and my Dvesha, and therefore I am constantly affected by the world. This private view, I call it private view, because if you look at the world through your Raga Dvesha and I look at the world through my Raga Dvesha, we see two different worlds, in the sense that objects which cause you sorrow may be objects which cause me pleasure, and objects which cause you pleasure may be objects which cause me sorrow. And therefore, whenever you look through your Raga Dvesha spectacles, you are living in a private world of your own. There's a term for that in Shastram. It is called Jiva Shrishtihi, the creation made by the Jiva, the creation made by you. And that creation is different from the creation made by the Lord. When you remove the Raga Dvesha spectacles, you will live in the objective world of Lord, which is called Ishvara Shrishtihi. That Ishvara Shrishtihi is neither a source of sorrow nor a source of joy. What makes it a source of joy or sorrow? My own Raga Dvesha. So if you look at the sunrise, for example, it is an event. It is Ishvara Srishti. But if I live in Iceland, then I feel happy when the sun rises. So for me, sunrise is a happy event. If I am in Delhi or in Nagpur in mid-May and the sun rises, then I am unhappy because I begin to sweat. So for me, sunrise is unhappy event. What causes the distinction? My own likes and dislikes, right? So when the sun rises, the people who want to rush off to work will say good, good, good. The people who want to sleep will be unhappy. And therefore the world has to be seen as Ishvara Srishti without my subjective projections. Until I train my mind to achieve this level of objectivity, Vedanta is not going to work on me. Vedanta requires objectivity. So from Jiva Srishti, I have to travel to Ishvara Srishti. From Jiva Srishti, I have to travel to Ishvara Srishti. From Ishvara Srishti alone can I go to Asrishti, no creation. So the journey of the sadhaka is from my creation to God's creation to no creation. And no creation, Asrishti, is moksha. It is absolute wisdom. And therefore Krishna says that throughout your life, you have a lifelong project, management of Raga Dvesha. That is the degree which you should work for, master of Raga Dvesha. You have your entire lifetime to work on it. It can't be done in a few years. And therefore he says, Shaknoti Sodum. Supposing you are able to manage what? Vegam, Udbhavam Vegam. Those powerful influences, Kama, Krodod, Udbhavam, which arise from Kamaha and Krodaha, from desires and anger. So Vegam is a powerful influence which can shake you. You are able to manage. Shaknoti, Sodhum. You are able to manage. Krishna is not saying that you should get rid of them, because he knows that you have a mind, attachment and aversion will be there in the mind. So Krishna doesn't say don't have them. He simply says be a master of them. Remember in the 3rd chapter, we said Krishna says that Raga Dvesha cannot be totally wiped out. It will always be there. What I can aim for in my life is to be able to manage them, to handle them. Like my physical body, I can never say that I will never be sick, but I can exercise, raise the resistance of my body so that when illness comes, I may be in bed for a few days, but I should have sufficient resistance to recover and continue my journey. Similarly, in the mind, Raga Dvesha will arise. Krishna says, let them arise, look at them, tell them you are the master. They should not enslave you. Your decisions, your karma, your actions should not be driven by the Raga Dvesha. You analyze the Raga Dvesha, see the pros and cons, and then decide what to do. The mind is not, the emotional mind is not to be the driver. The intellect should be the driver. And Shankara himself says in his commentary, this is a very tough task. Why? Agadvesha is intrinsically connected to vasanas, habitual thinking patterns acquired over many, many, many janmas, and reinforced over many, many janmas, so that some of them seems instinctive. They almost become an instinct. And therefore, Ragadvesha are your permanent enemies. It doesn't matter which ashrama you are, whether you are grahastha, whether you are vanaprastha, whether you are brahmachari, whether you are sannyasi. The attack of these two major enemies, raga and dvesha, is a constant factor in your lives. These attacks cannot be stopped because raga dvesha is present always. Their job is to attack you. But we can learn to manage by reducing the impact on us, by reducing the damage they do to us, which we call in our language FIR reduction. So this mastery is called Shodhum Shaknoti. And a person should be able to achieve that before death, Prak Sharira Vimokshanat. And if you are able to do that, Krishna says, Sahayuktaha, that person is an efficient person, a master of yourself. First lesson is manage yourself. Don't try to manage your family first. Manage yourself. If you cannot manage yourself, where is the question of managing your family or of an organization? So managing myself is what? Managing my own body, mind, sense complex. A person who can do that is called Yuktaha, integrated person. A person who is emotionally sound. A person who is not handicapped intellectually or emotionally. Only such a Yukta person can understand Vedanta. And Prak Sharira Vimokshanat. You have to be able to develop this ability to manage your Ragadvesha when? Before the body falls. Before Maranam. And if you can do that, then you have learned to manage the emotional impact of Kama and Krodha. Remember, you cannot manage the Kama, Krodha themselves. We have to learn to first manage the emotional impact. The first lesson Krishna is saying is that the first lesson in managing anger is what? Avoid the external expression of anger. Is exactly opposite to what modern thinking is. You see, when you're angry, you go and beat the pillow or you shout at people. Krishna says no. Avoid external expression of anger. Don't start shouting at people. How do I not start shouting at people? Well, it's a good question. Maybe I can put a laddu in my mouth. When that anger comes, put one laddu in your mouth. You won't be able to shout anyway. Use any means that you have, but don't let that anger be expressed. That is the first lesson. The second lesson is anger is like the steam in a pressure cooker. It has to be let out. How? Analyze that anger. In that analysis alone, you have to learn that by getting angry, what have I done? I have handed control of my emotions to somebody else. Who is the somebody else? That person who is making you angry. Do you really want to do that? Do you want to hand over control of your mind and your emotions to somebody else? That is the second lesson. Analyze that. And when you understand that getting angry and shouting is simply handing over control, you will have learned to handle your anger. And sa eva naraha, that person alone deserves the name human being. The one who goes by impulses cannot be called a human being because he does not have self-control. And Vedanta doesn't agree with modern psychology. Do what you feel like doing. And such a person does not deserve the name Naraha. In Sanskrit, the word va means or. It can be used to indicate doubt. And therefore, Naraha va. And when you chant the word Naraha va continuously, Naraha va, Naraha va, Naraha va, what happens? It becomes what?
Vanara.
Vanaraha.
Vanar.
Such a person is a Vanaraha. He is a monkey. He is not a person. And therefore, Sasokihi, only that person who has learned to manage Ragadvesha, only he can be a happy person. The other person given to emotional swings and shouting and screaming and depression, where is Jnana Yoga? This itself they cannot handle. Jnana Yoga is far, far away for such people. They are not ready for Jnana Yoga. Very, very beautiful little verse which we should constantly think about. Okay, now we look at the next verse, verse number 24. We chant Yo yanta sukhontara ramaha
Yo
Yanta
yanta
sukhontara
tathantarjyotireva yaha sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhutodhigacchati. Okay, so first, as usual, we will look at the word breakups. I will request all of you all to please ensure that you keep yourself muted because even the slightest sound will come on the recording and it will disturb the person who's hearing the recording afterwards. So, yo yantaha sukha sukhontara. So, you break that up. Yaha, that yo becomes yaha. Visarga comes in, yo is dropped. Yoho antaha sukha. Then the avagraha is dropped. Antararamaha. Tatha antaha jyotihi antarjyotihi eva yaha. Tatha antarjyotihi eva yaha. Saha yogi brahma nirvanam. Brahma bhutaha. Avagraha is dropped again. Adhigacchati. Word meanings, word breakups. And if you want to put them into Anvaya, it will be Yaha Antaha Sukaha Antara Aramaha Tatha Yaha Antara Jyotihi Kama Saha Eva Yogi Brahma Bhuta Brahma Nirvanam Adhigacchati. So Yaha, that person, that sadhaka, Antaha Sukha, who finds happiness Antaha, within himself. Antara Aramaha, who is peaceful, who is relaxed within himself. Tatha, and Yaha Antara Jyotihi, whose mind is centered on himself. Sa eva, that person alone, yogi, is worthy of being called a yogi. And Brahma Bhutaha, He is in the form of Brahman itself. Brahma Nirvanam Adhigacchati. He has gained Brahma Nirvanam, which is moksha. So Krishna is now talking about Jnana Phalam. Okay, this topic has changed. The person who has gone through all these stages which have been talked about, he has become emotionally sound. He is able to, emotionally sound means what? He does not miss something, he does not long for anything. It may sound very odd, but that is the explanation. That is the real meaning of a person who is emotionally stable. If he has possessions, he enjoys. If he has no possessions, he is not upset. Therefore, emotional soundness means when things are there, you enjoy. When things are not there, you don't complain. And why? How is this possible? Because of Atmajnana only. And what will be the lifestyle of that person? Yaha antaha sukha. So antaha here means antaratma. The one who has discovered that he is the Atma, the one who has discovered that he is Purnaha. Therefore, yaha antaha sukha means that person has discovered Purnatvam, fulfillment, completeness. And therefore only antara aramaha. Aramaha is the relaxation or the recreation. His recreation ground, his Star TV, his, all the TV channels that you have are all antaraha, are all inside him. Any gadget which gives you recreation and entertainment, any holiday you take, all that is inside him. Okay. Now, a good question here is, why do you take a holiday? A holiday means that you don't know what to do with yourself in that period. You cannot face your own mind. I am not happy with myself. Swami Dayananda was once asked, why don't you take a holiday? So he said that, take a holiday from what? I am enjoying myself every moment of my life. So why should I take a holiday? Means I should go take a holiday and not enjoy myself. Is that what you mean by a holiday? That is what is being said here. A person who is a jnani, he enjoys every moment of his life. Antara aramaha. He does not need to go on a world tour. So what is this benefit of self-knowledge? Antasukha. He is happy with himself. He is aware of his purnatvam all the time. Antara jyotihi. Jyoti means the consciousness, the awareness. He is conscious that he is the Atma. He knows he is the Atma. He is aware that he is Purna only. Which means what? He can have possessions and he can be without possessions. Either way, he is happy. Remember that even if I'm a person who likes to be alone, if I am seeking solitude all the time, that is another form of bondage. So this person is a person who has neither of those. He is not attached to the company of people. He is not attached to the absence of people. He can enjoy both. He enjoys their presence, and when they are not there, he is not unhappy. What is being said? He never loses sight of his own inner freedom, of the fact that he is Purnaha, everything is within me alone. And therefore, Sahayogihi, that person is called a real yogi. And Shankaraya says, yogi sees the Atma when his eyes are closed. And when his eyes are open, he still sees the Atma. That is Shankara's definition of the yogi. I see the Atma with eyes closed. I see the Atma when my eyes are open. I see the Atma all the time. So this is not a Yoga Sutra yogi. Okay, Yoga Sutra yogi sees the Atma only when his eyes are closed. This is a Vedantic yogi. You should not confuse between Yoga Sutra and Vedanta, because Vedanta accepts many parts of Yoga Sutra, especially the discipline part, the Ashtanga part it accepts. But we should not get confused. The Yoga Sutra yogi's objective is what? Chitta vritti nirodha. Getting rid of the thoughts. The Vedantic yogi's objective is what? Yatra yatra manoyati tatra tatra samadhaya. Wherever I see only Atma. In every thought, I see only Atma, and therefore, this Vedantic yogi does not feel the need to get rid of thoughts, to eliminate thoughts. He says, let the mind travel where it wants. But since I can see Brahman in everywhere, that is the real Samadhi. And that's called Sahaja Samadhi. Easy Samadhi because no effort is required. He sees Brahman wherever his mind goes. And what is the status? Brahma Bhutaha. He has become one with Brahman. He has discovered the fact that I am Brahman alone. I do not need anything to be happy. I do not need anybody or anyone to be secure. I am full and complete. And how long will he enjoy this? As long as the body is alive. What will happen to him after the body falls? Nothing will happen to him because he is not the body anymore. He has discovered he is not the body. He has discovered he is not the mind. He will continue to remain as Brahman. And therefore Krishna calls it Brahma Nirvanam, also called Videha Mukti. Thus, this person is free. He's got moksha while living. He is free. He has moksha after the death of his body also. In fact, the correct understanding which you must all have by now, I am Brahman. The entire Srishti arises and falls in me. Right? The whole world arises and falls in me. My body also arises and falls in me. Why should I bother about Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti of any one body? Why should I worry about the arrival and destruction of some Sukshma Shariram? Therefore, the Jivan Mukti and Videha Mukti, these two words are from the viewpoint of Vyavahara, other people. In my dictionary, as Brahman, these two words don't exist at all. Okay, any questions on these two verses?
Yes, Raviji, I have a question.
Yes, beta.
So this verse is talking about Ajnani, correct? So then why use the word Adhigachati? Because it's saying that the one who is Ajnani is the one who reaches Brahman, but then he's already Brahman.
No. Verse number 23 is talking about the Ajnani. Verse number 24 is Jnana Phalam. So it's a Jnani.
Yes, Jnani only.
Huh.
That's why if it's talking about a Jnani and the last sentence is Brahma Adhigachati.
Adhigachati. So Adhigachati, any travel that you know, it's figurative travel. You cannot say that the Jnani travels and becomes Brahman. The Jnani discovers that he is Brahman. So Adhigachati has to be understood as discovering of the fact that I am Brahman alone.
No, I'm saying the verse is referring to a Jnani,
Yeah.
but there is no need for Jnani to Brahma Adhigachati because he is like already there. That statement should apply to the Ajnani, right?
Yes, but here there are two things, right? One is the Jivan Mukti and one is the Videha Mukti. Just to distinguish that, he is using these two statements. So, Brahma Bhuta Adhigachati is, he is a Jivan Muktaha. After that, Brahma Nirvanam, he becomes Videha Muktaha. So, the discovery of the fact that I am Brahman is what is meant by Adhigachati. This Jnani has discovered that he is Brahman. So, Brahma Bhuta Adhigachati literally means he has become one with Brahman. Yes, but that has to be understood as I have understood that I am not different from Brahman, which is basically Jivan Mukti in our terms. And the next stage is Brahma Nirvanam. It may be confusing because Brahma Nirvanam comes first in the sloka. But Brahma Nirvanam means Videha Mukti. He becomes Videha Mukti after the body is gone.
Okay.
And why the word is used? Well, that is Krishna.
No, that's okay. Usually when they use these words, they're talking about a mumukshu and like such a qualified person, he alone attains Brahman, is what they say. But this is not the mumukshu or the qualified student. This is
No,
already a
you have to
jnani.
read from the reverse. The first one is, as soon as 23 is over. What does 23 mean? He has achieved full control over Ragadvesha. Then you have to add over there. He has gone to Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, etc., etc. And Brahma Bhuto Adhigacchati. He has discovered that is Brahman. In that state, what is there? Yoyanta Sukhontara Ramaha Antathantar Jyotirevayaha Sahayogihi. He is the Jivan Muktaha. Then Brahma Nirvanam, after the body is gone, then he gets Videha Mukti. So Brahma Bhuto Adhigacchati is the movement from the Jnani, from the Ajnani, from the qualified sadhana chatushtaya sampanna person to the Jnani. And you have to add over there. Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, Dwara.
Okay. Yeah, now I got it. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Are Jivan Mukta, when you have a sense of Jivan Mukti, then it doesn't matter whether your body comes and goes. That's called Videhi Mukti.
No, it's not.
What is it?
Jivan Mukta is a word used for a person when he has discovered that is Brahman and the body is still there. When that body is lost, then you use the word Videha Mukti. The Videha Mukti is a stage in after Jivan Mukti. When the body falls, that Jivan Mukta becomes without the body. That without body status of Brahman is called Videha Mukti. With body status of Brahman is called Jivan Mukta.
So without Jivan Mukta is without body mind complex consciousness.
No, Jivan Mukta has very much got a body mind sense complex. That is why the word Jivan is there while living.
Okay, so within this Jivan itself, you are Mukt.
Yes.
Raviji,
Yes, Bamu.
why this Brahmani Dhanam in this case Vidaha Mukta? Is it not Jivan Mukta?
No, because you already said Jivan Mukta. Brahma Bhuto Adhigacchati. So we
What
don't
does
give it,
Brahma?
we don't give
Okay.
it our own interpretation. We take what Shankara says.
Okay. So
You
here Brahma
always
Bhuta
remember
is,
that whenever we interpret, we are interpreting according to the Acharyas. For us, the Acharya is Shankaracharya. So when
yes,
he says
yes.
something, we take that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Now we go to the next verse, which is verse number 25. So let us chant. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam
Labhante
Brahmanam
Rishayakshina Kalmashaha
Rishayakshina Kalmashaha
Chinnadvaidayatatmanaha
Chinnadvaidayatatmana
Sarvabhuta Rataha.
Sarvabhutahite rataha.
Okay, before entering this topic, in continuation of the last verse and Munmun's question, remember that for a Vedantic, the primary pramanam is Shruti. Okay, or Shruti, or in this case, Bhagavad Geeta. Logic, Tarka, is always supporting pramanam. And therefore, never interpret primarily with logic. Because then you are becoming a Sankhya philosopher or a Vishishta Advaita philosopher. Vedanta is the only of the darshanas where Shruti is primary and Tarka is secondary. All other darshanas, they will talk about Tarka first, and therefore they will say things like, you are not willing to discuss logically. We say yes, we are willing to discuss logically, but logic has to support Shruti Praman. It cannot be the other way around, that you find something logically and then find a Shruti Vakyam to support that. That understanding you have to be very careful about. As a Vedantic, for you, the primary Pramanam is Shruti because it is Apaurishaya, it is the Lord's words. Also remember in the same that Shruti will never contradict logic. Shruti has to be supported by logic. If you find any Veda Vakyam or Shruti Vakyam or Smriti Vakyam which is contradicting logic, then it is a mistake in my understanding. That you have to understand. Because Shruti will never contradict logic. Therefore, you have to do some research into it and find out what that sentence really means. Okay, so that is the way in which the interpretation is done. And that is why we are saying, when we look at it, logically, when you try to interpret, you will come across different interpretations which can never be supported by Shruti. Therefore, other way around. Look at Shruti part of it and then look for supporting logic. I hope that's clear. Okay, now look at the verse which we just chanted. Labhante Brahma Nirvanam Rishayah Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaidha Yatatmanaha Sarvabhuta Ite Rataha. And you can take it as the Anvaya is Kshina Kalmashaha Chinnadvaida Yata Atmanaha Sarvabhuta Hite Rataha Rishayah Brahma Nirvanam Labhante. Kshina Kalmashaha, those whose impurities, Kalmasha, Kshina, have been destroyed. Chinna Dvaida, whose doubts have been destroyed. Yata Atmanaha, who are masters of themselves. What do? Rataha. They are engaged, they are happily engaged. Sarva Bhuta Hite, in the good of all other beings. What are they? Rishayah Brahma Nirvanam Labhante. So, sooner or later, they get Brahma Nirvana. So, here Krishna is talking about the benefits of Atmayana. Kshina Kalmashaha, free from Kalmashaha, free from Papam. And here you have to understand this is referring to what? The Karma Kanda of the Vedas. Those who follow Panchamaha Yajna, etc., will become Kshina Kalmashaha, will be free from their papams, will get a Chitta Shuddhi. And according to Vedanta, what is papam? Anything that is an obstruction for my journey to Jnanam, it's a papam. In fact, the very desire for being on this journey, for the spiritual journey, is possible only when there is sufficient punyam. Such a person should have sensitized his mind so as to be able to empathize with others. And therefore he says, Sarva Bhuta Hite Rataha, is interested in the welfare of all beings. Empathy is a very fundamental quality, which is the foundation for all my virtues. When the other person is happy, most people feel unhappy, right? But Jnani, he rejoices in the happiness of other people because he is able to identify and share that happiness. And similarly, when the other person feels pain, as an advanced Vedantic, I should be able to appreciate that pain and feel it myself. So there is a small little verse. Ayam nijo para veti ganana laghu chetasa. This person is nija, mine, and para, stranger. Ganana laghu chetasam. This is the view of a very small mind. And udara charitanam tu vasudaiva kutumbakam. The man whose mind is expanded, udara, for him the entire earth is his own family. Right? So this is the sensitivity which is required for a jnani, and that is what he's talking about here. if that sensitivity is there, will I hurt anybody else? No, because even as I hurt somebody else, even as that person feels the pain, I feel that pain. And therefore, hurting anybody else is equivalent to hurting myself. And that is why I don't hurt anybody else at all. Okay, so that's one. And that's why in Patanjali Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, the first value is what? Ahimsa. It's a very important value for a jnani, that compassion, that empathy which I feel for others. Therefore, I should know, to get back to the discussion, I should know that if I have the desire to listen to the Gita, and if somehow I have found a teacher and I'm able to attend classes, then know that you have Ishvara Anugraha. Because even if you want to listen, there could have been obstacles, there could have been pratibandhas, and these pratibandhas have all gone away because I have done a lot of nishkama karma, and therefore Ishvara Anugraha is there with me. So once I develop an interest in spirituality, yatatmanaha, I have to work for spiritual growth. And here this can be taken as upasana, while the first two stages can be taken as karma yoga. Remember that liberation, moksha. Many people say that if God willing, I will get moksha. It is not the Ishvara who decides whether you should get moksha or not. Your moksha depends upon your own free will, upon your own efforts, upon your own agami karma. Of course, a large part of whether it is going to be possible is because of prarabdha karma, which is again not God's will. It is the result of our own actions in previous lives. And if you think that Ishvara is responsible for moksha, then there is a question of why does he give moksha to some people and why does he give bondage to other people, and therefore that Ishvara become a partial Ishvara. Like sunlight, remember that Ishvara's blessings are uniformly available. But just as if I want solar power, I need to tap that sunlight by putting in a solar power plant. The question is, am I willing to make use of Ishvara Anugraha? That is the question. How do I make use of Ishvara Anugraha? By the use of my free will. And this stage is called Yatatmanaha. Viveka does not just come by randomly. Vairagya does not randomly come. Shat Sampatti, Samadhi Shat Sampatti does not randomly come. It requires free will and sustained effort. And that's why Krishna says Yatatmanaha. You make the effort. And if you make the effort, then what? Rishayaha. These people have gone through purification, discipline, and you will become a rishi. You will come to the next stage of knowledge. So Rishaya here means jnani. The word Rishaya means jnani in this context, derived from the root rish, to know. The rishi means the one who knows. You have the knowledge. And that's a very interesting thing. If you have the knowledge, you are a rishi. Even if you are wearing a three-piece suit or a bikini. If you don't have the knowledge, even if you have a long beard and saffron clothes, you are no rishi. Then what happens? Chinna Vaida. Free of divida, free of doubts. What happens to him? He is free of all form of doubts. His knowledge is firm, nishchaya jnanam. Therefore, the knowledge gained from Shravanam has to be converted, which is samshaya jnanam, knowledge with doubts, has to be converted by mananam, through mananam, into nishchaya jnanam. Our question is, how do I know that I have nishchaya jnanam? There is only one way. I should ask my own intellect. Shastra says, Aham Brahma Asmi, Tattvam Asi, which I understand as Aham Brahma Asmi. I ask my intellect, Do you agree with this statement? Do you agree without any hesitation, without any reservation? Do you agree? Do you accept that you are immortal? If you do, without any murmuring by your intellect, okay, your intellect should say, yes, I do. If you do that, and it's easy to convince yourself that the intellect is saying, but you ask yourself, as I know without any doubt, today as I know that I'm a human being, is it possible for me with that same degree of conviction to make a statement, I am Brahman? If you can do that, then and only then you have accepted your immortality. That immortality has been driven into your subconscious mind in the same way that currently your human status is there in your subconscious mind. You don't have to get up every morning and remind yourself, I am a human being. Do you do that? No, right? The moment you get up, even if you open your eyes during deep sleep, you know you are human. Do you have that same degree of conviction that you are Brahman? If you do that, then you know that the Lord that you have worshipped so far is none other than you yourself. So Vedanta says, this world that I experience is of a lower status of reality. Am I ready to accept that? That I am the very creator of this world, and the world is basically a reflection which is appearing in me. Am I ready to accept? Conviction comes by answering any number of these questions to yourself. You don't have to go and tell anybody else. So until I am convinced of this, I have to continue mananam process. Acquisition of knowledge is shravanam. Removal of doubts is mananam. And when sarva samshaya rahitaha, chinnad Veda is the condition. Free from doubts, I am convinced. And then Brahma Nirvanam. Remember here the Brahma Nirvanam is different from Brahma Nirvanam of the last verse. Here Brahma Nirvanam is Jivan Mukti. Such people have attained oneness with Brahman. Nirvanam here means Aikyam, oneness with Brahman. This Aikyam, the understanding that I am Brahman, is dropping the notion that I am not Brahman. That is all there is to it. Okay. Any questions? And if you ask why Brahma Nirvanam here is different from Brahma Nirvanam of the previous verse, what is the answer?
Shruti says, or Shankaracharya says it. So
Well, that's one answer. What is the other answer?
In verse 24, it referred to Videha Mukta.
Yeah, but why?
Because there were two words, Brahma Bhuto Adhigacchati and Brahma Nirvanam. Two words were there.
Exactly. So contextually, they are different. Always look at the context. First rule of Vedanta is look at context. So when you study any, especially the Upanishad, when you study, you will find that some mantras is not clear what is being said. What should you do? Look at the mantras before that and the mantras after that. Look at the continuity, the idea of which is being continued, and then say, okay, this is what the idea is. That is how you decipher the scriptures. And if you still have a doubt, then you look at the Bhashyam of Acharya. The Acharya Bhashyam will tell you this only. This is the reason why it is like this. Okay, I don't think we have enough time for another verse, so we can stop here, and any questions I will answer.
Acharya ji,
Sir.
Yeah, please go ahead. Rituji, please go ahead.
so Acharya ji, what is Rataha?
Where?
The last word in the 20.
Rata is enjoyment. Rataha is the person who enjoys himself, revels. Sarva bhuta hite rataha. He enjoys, he revels in the benefits, welfare of other people, which is saying that he spends his life being happy that other people are being happy.
Ji.
Like Ramati.
Yeah, it's from the same word, Rama.
Sir, I missed what you explained about Yatatmanaha. Can you just say?
Yata simply means the one who is making efforts. Yati is a very common word,
Okay.
one who makes efforts, not the. There's another yati, which is the what they call abominable snowman in the mountains, but that's not this yati.
Yeah.
This yati is the one who makes efforts. Yataha.
Raviji, I know I answered the question just now, but here Brahma Nirvana is Jivan Mukti, right?
Here Brahma Nirvanam is Jivan Muktaha.
Okay, thank you.
Labhante. He reaches there.
Right.
And in 23rd, it's Dehe Mukta.
23rd, you have to read it from backwards. The first stage is Brahma Bhutaha. Second stage is Brahma Nirvana. Because there is a Jivan Mukta already, the next one is got to be Videha Mukti. Okay, so with this we'll stop. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Tat Sat Om Namah
Om Tat Sat.
Shivaya. Thank you for your
Om Namah
patience.
Shivaya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.